Although humans are looking to explore space in order to further our knowledge, there's many regions on our planet that haven't been visited. This includes places like the dense jungles of our world. However, one place that's just as mysterious as that of our oceans. One of the most fascinating things that makes the oceans quite mysterious for us humans is the fact that 80% of it is still unexplored. Despite the history of sailing going back centuries, we have still only been able to scratch the surface of the water world that accounts for more than 70% of the Earth's surface. We have been sailing on the surface of our oceans for centuries now, but we've only started discovering the depths of the oceans during the past couple of decades. Treasure seekers and those looking to make some quick money have found some fascinating things over the years. One interesting discovery was made a while back by a team of treasure hunters. This mysterious underwater object goes by the name of the Baltic Sea Anomaly, and it soon made headlines shortly after its discovery. This was because the object in question looked eerily similar to what a standard UFO is said to look like, having a dish-shaped body and being fairly large and sleek looking. The Baltic Sea Anomaly has a 60-meter diameter and can be found lying on the floor of the northern Baltic Sea. It was discovered by Peter Lindberg, Dennis Asberg and their Swedish Ocean X diving team back in June 2011. The team made this discovery while they were looking for an old shipwreck. As they passed over the object though, they received a mysterious reading. They'd never seen anything like this before and were very excited by what this object could potentially be. The group have described themselves as individuals who locate underwater treasure and bring it back to its former glory. They specifically specialise in underwater and historic artifacts. According to Ocean X, the anomaly is around 3 to 4 meters thick and has an approximate diameter of 60 meters. Interestingly, this large object is said to be sitting on a thick 8-meter tall pillar-like feature and can be found at around 85 to 90 meters. One thing the team have noted though is that the visibility is really bad, and although 90 meters doesn't sound deep, it's really hard to see anything when you're down there. The team reported that on their first expedition they started to experience some malfunctions in their equipment. They didn't think much of it, but as they passed the object everything started to work again as normal. Thinking this was just a one-off, they then went back over the object, and once again their equipment stopped working. This has caused the team to speculate that this object is giving off some kind of electromagnetic field. They have tested this a variety of times and every time they do, their equipment stops working. Professional diver Stefan Hoggeborn said the following about it. Anything electric out there and the satellite phone as well stopped working when we was above the object. When we got away around 200 meters it turned on again, and when we got back over the object it didn't work. Those who have heard the Baltic Sea Anomaly turning off the equipment have said this is UFO interference. There's been various cases where people have reported that unidentified flying objects have shut off their electrics, only for them to turn back on once the craft has left. UFOs are said to be able to turn off vehicle electronics when they're close by. These accounts have been reported from people operating all types of machinery. This includes things like airplanes, tractors, cars, buses, motorbikes and even lawnmowers. Interestingly, those who reported these mysterious events said that once the craft left, everything turned back to normal. One report comes from that of a crew on a fishing vessel. They said that after spotting a mysterious object in the sky, all their electronics shut off. This included the ship-to-shore radio transmission. After around 15 minutes and when the object had passed, everything went back to normal. This report was from Iceland, and interestingly some have come forward in detail that they had seen crafts entering and exiting the ocean. When entering the water, these crafts don't make a splash or any noise. This has caused some to speculate that these crafts are interested in our oceans. There's been many reports of those who work at sea, and they state that these objects can sometimes be seen entering and exiting our oceans at high speeds. Naval officers have reported seeing bright lights below the surface of the water, and then seeing a large object slowly descending into the depths. One interesting report is that of the disappearance of Frederick Valentich. On the 21st of October 1978, a man by the name of Frederick Valentich disappeared under mysterious circumstances. He was flying across the Bass Strait in a Cessna aircraft while on a 230-kilometer training flight. At this point he'd already done around 150 hours of flying time, which made him an amateur pilot. He was confident in this type of flight, so decided to do the journey. On that day at around 7 PM at night, the pilot radioed into the Melbourne Flight Centre to report an unknown aircraft. He stated that it was following him at around 4,500 feet. The service responded and told him that there was no traffic close to him at the time of the report. Valentich was adamant about what he saw, saying a sizable unknown aircraft was closing in at high speeds, saying that it had mysterious flashing lights. He added that the aircraft that kept approaching him was metallic and shiny, with a green light on it. Minutes later, Valentich reported that he was having problems with the engine, and when the service asked him to identify the aircraft once more, he radioed, "It isn't an aircraft." A noise like a metallic scraping sound interrupted before the transmission was cut off. Shortly after, a sea and air search were conducted around the area, but nothing turned up. The case was closed after the Department of Transport investigated the case but found nothing, assuming the disappearance to be fatal. 5 years later, an engine cowl flap that came from a Cessna aircraft similar in range as Valentich was found washed ashore on Flinders Island. According to his father, before his disappearance, Valentich believed in UFOs and was worried by the thought of being attacked by one. Ufologists believe that Valentich's aircraft was either destroyed by extraterrestrials or they abducted him. Interestingly, locals close to where he went missing stated they saw bright green lights around the same time. Some, however, have put forward the idea that Valentich staged his own disappearance. With all the theories surrounding the disappearance of Frederick Valentich, none have been able to give a solid answer for what happened. One of the places where many of these reports are submitted to is that of MUFON. The Mutual UFO Network is a US-based company that helps people report their UFO sightings. A New York witness said the following about their encounter. "Initially, I thought the lights I was looking at were dim stars, or stars covered with clouds. However, I soon realized the lights were too close to the ground. They pulsated and appeared to be on the outside of a source-like flying object. As I approached the strange-looking object, my electronics cut out. It scared me as I wasn't sure what this thing was and why everything was cutting out." New York MUFON field investigator Mr. D. Perrano said the following about the case. The witness described the object as being huge, around the size of an acre. The witness then said the object's lights began pulsating as if to get her attention. The witness became gripped with fear. She explained she was extremely frightened as the lights now began to pulsate, changing colour from white to red. The pulsating lights were then moving from front to back and then continued this way. The witness continued driving. The witness then noted from the windshield of her car the object moving rapidly. The object then started moving south away from her. At the time she attempted to use her cell phone, but she discovered that her cell phone had no service. The witness continued driving, and after a couple of minutes the cell phone service returned. She said that she travelled this road several times and knows where the dead spots are, and that area is not one of them. The entire incident lasted 5 minutes. The weather at the time of the incident was clear and nothing was interfering with the sighting. No airports are within 30 miles of the area of the incident, and there's no military bases close by. The team explored the object for a second time, and what they found only caused more questions. As the divers approached the object, they could see what appeared to be a dark staircase leading into the object. Interestingly, tests were sent off to try and determine what the object was made of. Steve Weiner said that according to his tests, the object was not a geological formation, and further said that the structure was made from metals which nature could not reproduce itself. The OceanX team further said the craft looked even bigger when down there, and compared it to the size of a passenger plane. While down there they could see what appeared to be a trail behind the object. This is also backed up from the sonar images. This has only led to people suggesting that whatever this object is came crashing down. These skid marks can easily be seen on the ocean floor, and they baffled the team when they first saw them. Outside of the object on the surface, the researchers have also reported seeing unusual carvings, almost like unnatural looking shapes. The wreckage sits at a depth of 90 meters, and waters in the area are always muddy, factors that make it virtually impossible to film or photograph the site. Lindbergh has said there's a chance this object could be a natural formation, but geologists have told him this object is definitely not an underwater volcano. Going back a few months ago, the team returned to the site, and while here they dropped down a remotely operated vehicle. However, when it reached a few meters above the anomaly, the team said the compass went berserk. What's interesting is the first time they went to the anomaly, something similar happened. Peter Lindbergh said the following about the event. It was very difficult to understand where the ROV was because of the terrible visibility, and because of the compass that went berserk. The compass was living its own life and the tether was snagged all the time. The UFO community have said that it's possible this object could be an unidentified flying object. However, scientists and researchers are of the opinion that this object is natural. Although various tests have gone against this, other researchers have suggested that it formed during the Ice Age, but they're not sure about what it is. More research needs to be carried out to determine what exactly the object is. Many are well aware of the commonalities seen when reading over UFO reports, and what they tend to mean when spotted. The term UFO has become synonymous with images of extraterrestrial life, despite the term having existed in aviation for many decades prior to the alien abduction phenomenon. Prior to its stigmatization with the extraterrestrial phenomena, which stands for unidentified flying object, was commonly used in the military to help classify enemy planes which hadn't been identified. Though it might seem obvious in explanation, many still can't help to envision little green men when the term UFO is thrown around. UFO is not the only term that's grown in popularity within the UFO community. There appears to be another term that is slowly becoming far more popular, and shedding light on the technological capabilities of these crafts. Known as unidentified submerged objects, there have been a number of reports by fishermen, naval intelligence, and a wide variety of anonymous claims. They describe sightings of bright lights or quick-moving objects through the ocean that do not fit the design of anything terrestrial in nature. These USOs, as they're called, have also proven to look remarkably similar to UFO sightings in dish-shaped crafts. In fact, many sailors have claimed to have seen USOs rise out of the water and fly away as a massive bright light. This has led many to consider the very real possibility that UFO crafts also have the ability to serve as submerged crafts. Over the last few years, Sweden has had its fair share of strange goings-on. UFOs have been reported here constantly, and it's said to be a hotbed for USOs. An unidentified submerged object, or USO, is any object or optical or mechanical detection phenomenon of unknown origin observed under the water that remains unidentified even after thorough investigation by researchers. Reports on USOs are not new. They go back many years and sometimes come from very credible sources. In one incident that the former US Navy commander David Fravell narrated, they saw a dark mass underwater while they were retrieving a drone for flying practices, and described it as a big mass kind of circular. The second time the pilot saw the dark mass, a practice torpedo that the pilot had been sent to recover was sucked down into the ocean in the presence of the underwater mass, and was never to be seen again. In another interview, he revealed that a 79-year-old lady reached out to him after his sighting went public, and she reported that her father, who was a former naval officer, showed her a telegram which stated that unidentified objects had been seen going in and out of the water. In January 1965, Captain Bruce Caffey, a DC-3 pilot in North Island, spotted a USO and described it as metallic, streamlined and symmetrical in shape, approximately 100 feet long and 15 feet at its widest part. The New Zealand Navy told Captain Caffey that no submarine could have been in that area. In January 1968, several eyewitnesses reported seeing a large disc-like object hovering over Wellington City and said that it was heading for Island Bay. The area police reported that they could see the object from the coast with binoculars. Between 1957 and 1968, a Brazilian scientist was startled by something that came roaring out of the sea. This object had smashed through 37 feet of ice, going up to the sky like a silver bullet. Other eyewitnesses saw blocks of ice that had been thrown into the air falling all around, further saying that the water was rolling and boiling, with a lot of steam coming from both the hole in the ice that was falling. In August 1974, 2 eyewitnesses from Arenga Beach reported seeing a very dark object protruding from the water, appearing to have smaller dots flying around it, and assumed that they were helicopters circling a submarine. The object was described as being large, and looking like a large cylinder. In the southern part of Siberia lies a mysterious lake which has many stories attached to it. This interesting lake goes by the name of Lake Baikal, and it's reported as being the deepest and most ancient lake on the planet. Due to this, it's been given the name of the Pearl of Russia. This lake is deep, and it's said that within these depths are creatures and objects only a few have seen. Giant lake monsters have been reported to live in Lake Baikal. Perhaps the most interesting reports from this region though is the vast amounts of unidentified flying objects said to be interested in this area. Interestingly, declassified Soviet-era documents have been discovered which detail the Russian Navy having run-ins with UFOs. Although these documents don't just mention USOs or even the lake in particular, the two are talked about in the document, and it's led some people to believe that these crafts have been visiting the lake for many decades. For years now, mysterious blinking lights have been seen by various people visiting the lake. These mysterious objects are known by the locals, and they have said that they've been here for many years. Some groups have suggested that these crafts are after something inside the lake, while others have said they're just observing. Others have suggested that these crafts actually enter the water, and have on some occasions been seen exiting the water at very high speeds. This has caused them to become known as USOs. What then are the people around Lake Baikal witnessing? The truth is, no one knows what these crafts are or what they want. Information on them is limited, and they've never been photographed going in and out of the water. One interesting account of these UFOs involves that of a Russian Tu-154 plane. This plane was said to have been chasing an unidentified flying object when something suddenly went wrong. It caused the plane to make an emergency landing in the lake. It's said the plane was sent out because one of these UFOs was getting too close, and the military wanted to know what it was. However, the plane wasn't able to get close to the craft, and some researchers have suggested the UFO shut off the plane's electrics, and this is the reason why it crashed into the lake. Perhaps the most interesting account to come from the lake is that of the lake people. This first contact happened in 1982. This was when Navy divers in the lake reported seeing what they described were giant humanoids. They said the beings were much larger than them and appeared to be wearing some kind of suit. The divers were interested in these underwater giants, and so decided to go and investigate. However, the story goes that as they approached the beings, they were quickly thrown to the surface of the lake, and due to the force in which this happened, the team suffered multiple injuries, with some of them even passing away. The Russian government, however, denies that this happened, and that it's nothing but stories. Interestingly, these aren't just one-off reports either. Many have come forward with their alleged encounters, and each one follows a similar theme. Reports detail that when approaching near the continent of Antarctica, Japanese crew members will report seeing what appears to be large giants laying out in the ocean, and that they appear to be humanoid in shape. These creatures are described as being 20 to 30 meters in length, and completely white in colour. Others have often reported that the creature was originally mistaken as being a large submarine in the distance, before getting closer and seeing hands, fingers, eyes and a mouth. This has led to the name of the Ningen by the Japanese crew, whereas others simply refer to these creatures as the Antarctic humans. To this day, a few images can be found online, but some suggested that these are recreations and not the actual creature itself. Those who have had a close encounter with them have described them as being a calm creature, and do not mind humans being in the area. So my question to you guys is, what do you think the Baltic Sea anomaly is? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.